that it? Okay.
Seems to be.
Okay. All right.
This is the one that cuts her oils off.
That's right. Okay.
Important.
Yeah, that was big on the planning commission.
Yeah.
Well, once again, this is the February 20th, 2025 zoning hearing board meeting of Radnor Township. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, the first item on the agenda this evening is appeal number, somebody want to get?
Yeah, Kevin.
32.
Kevin.
We'll wait until council for the applicant appears.
Here it comes. So we're going to deny it because the council.
Just fine them.
The worst thing you could say was in front of his client. We know where to find Mr. Canale.
Check the billing carefully.
Okay, so this is appeal number 3202. The applicants James and Suzanne Slattery, property located at 3 Meadowcrest Road and zoned R3 residential. This relates back to an earlier appeal. Pursuant to Appeal 3182, the applicant was granted relief to remove man-made steep slopes from the property. Applicant seeks to modify the condition to permit the construction of 2 homes in size and location different from the concept plan presented to the board. Applicant seeks relief to modify the condition of approval, a modification of the variance from section 280-112, capital E in parens, and/or such other zoning relief in accordance with the exhibits and testimony presented to the zoning board. Nick?
Evening. Nick Canale, representing the applicant. You may recall this application. It was from around the summertime or spring, and it was a removal of steep slope. And what occurred here, showing on this particular plan, this steep slope was not yet removed, but the proposal was to remove this steep slope here. It was established as a result of building of a house, a home, back, I believe, in the 1950s. It was man-made, but of course, because of the ordinance, and you have to show a permit after 1992, we had to come in and ask for relief of variance. So the proposal was to remove this slope here. Nothing has changed. What occurred, and at that time, is we presented a concept subdivision plan. And you may recall this slope, and we had the photos, I want to introduce them again, was created around the foundation of the home. So they're clearly man-made, created as a result of the construction of the home back in the 1950s. The concept plan presented showed a 2-lot subdivision. The subdivision showed 2 homes with this footprint. What happened was the applicant...
What exhibit are you referring to?
This is exhibit on the current, it would be exhibit A8, and we'll testify to this too, so,
okay.
you know. It's in the packet. As you can see, the proposed home covered the steep slope area. The proposed home under the subdivision that was filed with the township does the same. It covers the steep slope area. The steep slope area hasn't changed. The area being removed has not changed. I'm sorry, yeah, okay. The area of slope being removed has not changed. Everything remains the same in that regard. What has changed are the footprints of the home have been enlarged. The 2 lots, the 1 lot, this lot here, lot 2, was shifted 2 feet to the west. And as I said, the footprints were the same. The setback between the neighbor at 11 Meadowcrest remains the same. Under the old plan, it was 25.7 feet. Under the new plan, it remains at 25.7 feet.
What's the exhibit number for the new plan?
I am looking at exhibit number, it will be marked as A11. Or it is marked as A11 now.
Okay, got it.
So I would request that the testimony from the last hearing regarding the steep slope be incorporated herein. There is no other conditions that are being changed. The approval granted previously by the board didn't condition it upon the size of the homes or where the lots would be located or anything of that nature. What brings us here is under every zoning decision that is granted by the board, it is stated in conformance with the plans and testimony presented to the board at that time. So that's what the difference is that this plan now has turned from a concept plan into a subdivision plan, and it calls for the moving of one lot line 2 feet to the west and that larger homes on each lot.
Okay. I think we should make mention of the fact, too, that, and council made me aware of this, is that even though the approval is given, said that the building permit has to be issued in 6 months from July 29th, 2014. I understand the commissioners have changed that now.
That's changed that to
Standard
1 year. And I believe, did we come in last month and got the extension for 6 months anyway? Because remember, we came in and said, I'm not certain what's applicable and what's not applicable, and so we asked for the 6 month just in case. So, but yeah, that has fortunately been changed, particularly when you're dealing with subdivision or land development. You need at least a year, to go through the whole process.
Okay.
All right, so I have two witnesses, Jim Slattery, the owner, and then we'll have the engineer just testify to basically the plans and what we're looking at here.
That's your same engineer from the last time?
Yes, it is.
And so you can have a seat right here. And if you're going to swear you in, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And say your full name, please.
James Slattery.
Jim, just looking at A8, you're the owner of the property here, the subdivision, what is being proposed for the subdivision, 3 Meadowcrest.
Yes, that's correct.
And you also live across the street, live across Meadowcrest, and you're the owner of 6 Meadowcrest.
Yes, that's correct.
And I believe when the house was purchased, I believe it was purchased in the 1990s, that your mother lived there, right? You moved?
I bought it in 2007.
Okay.
I've lived over here for over 35 years.
All right. And then I believe you put your mother there? Is that
Yes.
what happened at one time? Okay. We've made the application for modification of the condition that was previously granted, correct?
Yes.
And again, I've showed as A2, and that's the deed to the property, and you previously testified to that as the property that is in question here, correct?
Yes.
And then A3, just quickly going through it, this is the Google map of the property. Here is 3 Meadowcrest, and what we're doing is, here's Chew Lane, and proposing a 2-lot subdivision along this area known as 3 Meadowcrest to Chew Lane.
That's correct.
And again, quickly, just going through the exhibits, A4, that should shows Radnor Chester Road and Chew Lane,
Yes.
all right? And then A5, A6, and A7 are those photographs that I showed during the opening, just showing the area of the steep slope, which was around this house here shown on Lot 2.
Correct.
And what we're proposing here is to modify what we determined to be a concept plan that was previously presented to the board.
Yes.
And you heard my opening that the only change here is that we moved the lot line 2 feet to the west and that we enlarged the footprints of the buildings.
That is correct.
And A9 is the approval granted by the board.
Yes.
All right. And that's all I really have for Jim. I'll just call the engineer just to go through the plans and what I presented during opening.
I do.
State your full name and spelling.
Sure. My name's John Anderson, Anderson.
John, you're a registered engineer, civil engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
I am, yes.
and I've attached as A14 your CV,
Yes,
and you were actually qualified as an expert previously on the previous hearing on this matter.
that's correct, yes.
And is there, I would request that he be qualified as
Without
expert civil engineer. Referring to A8, and, well, let's look at, first, let's look at A12, which shows the area of steep slope and disturbance. Can you just tell the board what A12 represents?
A12 is an actual representation of the survey of the existing conditions of the property of 3 Meadowcrest Road. In the center here is the existing dwelling with the driveway. The dashed lines are contour lines, and the areas of shading represent steep slopes. The township requires us to delineate slopes in excess of 14%. So 14 to 20 are the light gray shaded areas, and then slopes in excess of 20% are the darker shaded areas.
And the 20% slope, over 20%, is the slope that we need zoning relief for.
That is correct, yes.
And what was, just quickly, we went through it last time during the last hearing, but how did this area of slope develop?
In our opinion, if you look at the contouring of the actual property, it is very consistent from what I would say from a plan south to north, except for the area around the existing home that was built in the 1950s. You can see the contour lines get much closer, and that's a representation of digging a foundation, backfilling around the foundation, digging for patios, and patios situated at or close to the finished, the final first floor elevation, and therefore you see the tightening of the contour lines, which, in my opinion, represents that the construction of the home actually created those steep slopes.
And but for the construction of the home, would any steep slope area, regulated steep slope area, appear on this plan?
I don't believe so, no.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as A8, and this was the plan that was presented to the board,
Yes, that's correct, yes.
and it shows the footprints and, you know, the area of the steep slope, correct?
Yes, it does.
Is there any more disturbance of the steep slope area with the new plan as compared to the prior plan?
So with the concept plan that is indicated in A8, the steep slopes encroachment plan, we had actually, because we hadn't actually designed the subdivision yet with the grading of the homes and so forth, we actually indicated a line of potential encroachment into the slope area closest to the adjoining property line to the east. Since we've had a chance to actually design, or Mr. Slattery's architect has designed the footprints or the designs of the homes, we've designed the subdivision, and we've actually been able to reduce our encroachment of the slope areas on the side. We're not actually encroaching into those slopes. We're only encroaching into the slopes that were created as the construction of the existing home.
And that's what was stated during the last hearing.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is we're actually, from the last hearing, we're actually reducing our encroachment.
And during the last hearing, you testified, correct?
Yes, I did, yes.
And I've marked as A10 certain points of your testimony, and in particular, I have starred and asterisked a couple items. Was this considered to be a concept plan?
Yes.
What do you mean by a concept plan?
At the time of looking at or preparing a subdivision or seeing what we could actually subdivide the existing property into, we will put on footprints of homes that we've used in the past for other developments. At the time we were generating this plan, Mr. Slattery had not engaged an architect to actually develop two footprints or residential homes for this development. So we utilized footprints of homes that we've used in the past. And so this was a conceptual layout of what could possibly happen if we took the existing lot that's roughly around 40,000 square feet and subdivided it into 2 new lots.
And your testimony, did you reference that this was a concept plan, a future concept plan?
Yes, I did.
And I believe that appeared on page 17 and 20 of the transcript.
That's correct.
Now I'm going to show you what's been marked as A11. And can you tell the board what A11 represents?
So A11 represents, it's the first sheet, sheet 1 of 10 of a subdivision plan set that was submitted in support of subdividing the existing property into 2 lots. At this point, we've actually had a chance to submit a plan, get review comments back from the township engineer. This is an actual revision to that plan set to show compliance with the township engineer's review comments. But this is an actually engineered design plan based on architecturally designed residential homes that Mr. Slattery engaged an architect with.
Okay, now on this plan, is there any additional area of steep slope being disturbed from the prior plan?
No, sir.
Is the setback from the rear property line the same, 25.7 feet?
Yes, it is.
And is the only other difference besides the footprint of the homes the fact that the property line has been moved 2 feet to the west?
The property line's been adjusted to accommodate the setback from the side property line of 25.7, and we actually have moved the driveway from plan right to plan left. So it used to be over here, and now it's situated over
Used to be closer to the rear neighbor.
That's correct.
And A12, I believe we already mentioned that. That's the existing condition plan.
That's correct, yes.
And then if you could just tell us what A13 represents.
So A13 is, it's sheet 3 of 10. It's a grading and utility plan. It shows the location of the homes. It shows the proposed contouring, the grading of the lots. It shows stormwater management areas and stormwater collection areas, and it also shows the utilities being brought in to the proposed dwellings.
Is there a planned landscape area between the home on Lot 2 and 11 Meadowcrest?
Yes, as part of the township ordinances, we're required to do landscaping requirements as stipulated in the subdivision and land development ordinances, and also tree replacement. And part of this plan is to provide additional landscaping along the side property line, as well as the northern property line and interior to the proposed development.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, how about any public comment? A couple of people have raised their hands, so come forward and be sworn in, please.
Can we come together?
Sure, but just testify one at a time.
Hi, my name is Andy Goldenberg.
I'll swear you both, and come and raise your right hand.
Yeah.
At the same time, you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes.
And say your name.
Andy Goldenberg.
Goldberg.
Goldenberg. Yep.
And Kelly Goldenberg. Kelly. Yes.
Thank you for your time. We live at 11 Meadowcrest Road, so east of the property in question. I guess first, we're not sure what exactly the purpose of this, this proceeding is. Is this a go, no-go on the entire plan? Is this specific to the steep slope? Can someone sort of clarify that for us?
I'll leave it to Nick to give a fuller explanation.
So the disturbance of the steep slope has been approved. What brought us here today is that the concept plan indicated that the lots were shifted a little 2 feet to the right, and also the concept plan showed smaller building footprints. And as a result, because in the zoning hearing and in the decisions, it always says in accordance with the plans and testimony presented, we're here to modify that plan to approve, at least from a zoning standpoint, the plan that is here before the board tonight. This will still have to go to land development, subdivision, and the planning commission. As you know, it would go, if this, no matter what, it's going to go back to the planning commission, whether this is approved or not approved here tonight.
Thank you.
Gus, correct me if I'm wrong, that if the board were to not grant the relief tonight, the applicant would be able to build under the previously approved plan in
Based
those
on-
configurations with those size homes?
Correct. They would still have an approval if they wanted to move forward with that. They could, correct. Theoretically, if that happened tonight, yes.
So the reason that we're here and the spirit of our commentary is, in large part, the distance between our house and theirs. And I say house, not property. So, and we've had some dialogue with them as neighbors, outside of the formal gatherings. So, we appreciate that the Slatterys have, and their team have moved. What we're talking about here is the house to the right, obviously immediately adjacent to ours. The size of the house, the proximity to our property line are both, of some concern to us. It will dramatically change not just the aesthetic of the neighborhood, but the open space, the vehicular traffic, the general congestion of our area. So, we have a lot of questions and curiosities about what will happen. We've heard rumblings about sidewalks being required. We've heard rumblings about a requirement from the township to widen the road. We don't know where those issues stand and how they're related. But ultimately, our property, our house was built, I think in late 1800s. As we said to the Slatterys, both jokingly and seriously, in a letter to them, there's nothing we can do about that. The position of our house is what it is, and if we could turn back time or pick it up and move it, we would. So we're relatively tight to our property line.
So just one thing to add there. So the long length of that house is our back side of our house. So in essence, the backyard sits right along the property line. It's a carriage house style, so all of our windows are on that side of the house. There's only 2 windows on the front side of the house. So we're getting all of our natural light and, kind of like overlook from the backyard. And then the only other thing I would say is while there's no distance here in terms of the house positioning, we do have a porch that jets out from here that's not depicted in this picture that is roughly 7 feet from
7.5 feet.
7.5 feet from the property line. So it significantly bumps out from there. And so, just with an understanding of the fact that, houses in this area are typically built with 35-foot, backyards. I know that that's not necessarily on our property, but our property is going to be significantly impacted by the positioning of this house.
So if this is not the right time or place to address that, we'll sit back down or excuse ourselves. But if this is, the so-called last opportunity to voice this concern and, see how the board feels about it, then, that's predominantly why we're here. And we're prepared to elaborate. I don't want to bore anybody or go into details that are unnecessary, but, we spent a lot of time evaluating. We've lived there for over 20 years, and the area is kind of a secret little nook off of Radnor, Chester, and Lancaster Avenue, and it's got, it's very quiet. It's got a lot of green space, and that was part of the attraction. I would imagine it's part of the, inherent values of those properties, and our concerns are, we'd be lying if we say some of our concern is not, economic in nature, but by and large, it's quality of life. I mean, we both work from home too, so my office right now looks out over lawn and sees sunset and sees a small 1-story house off in the distance. And if this plan proceeds, I'm going to see the siding of my neighbor's house basically right outside my window. And if I threw something, it would smash against the house. That's how close it's going to be. So, these are quality of life types of concerns that we wanted to raise, and hear your thoughts on the matter.
Sometimes quality of life issues have to be weighed by both the applicant and yourself. And a property owner does have the right to use the property.
Understood.
As long as they conform with the various rules and regulations and zoning regulations of the township. It seems right now that this is a fairly minor adjustment that they're required to do because of the general catch-all language that appears as a standard item, frankly, in all of the approvals that are given. And I know that from my time on the Planning Commission, during our Drossen, there was a lot of talk about view shed, and having the view shed going away and so on, because the area around here is getting developed, and just as when you think there isn't any other space to develop, there's more development that goes on. But I think you should, because you've got the attention here of the applicant and the applicant's attorney, and you have the board here listening to what you have to say, and it's all being taken down. Please don't feel that you're going to be boring us. This is your opportunity to explain exactly how you feel. And you will also have an opportunity, because they will have to go through, Nick, am I correct? You still have to go through the Planning Commission and...
Planning Commission, Board of Commissioners.
Right, the Board of Commissioners.
Yeah.
They have to approve any subdivision, including this one.
Sure.
So you
Yeah,
take a
we're
practice
happy to come
run,
back
you
if there's
can-
another, if there's another forum that's better for that. We also want to be respectful to their plans. I mean, on a casual level, I think their intent was to have been done at this point. I mean, I think they were hoping to have broken ground before, last summer or last fall, something like that. And so we know it's, there are always unexpected delays and such and adjustments. If we have concerns about it that may or may not result in changes to their plans, we want to bring that up as early as we can too, so they don't get so far down a path, and then if you guys agree with us, so to speak, then they have to undo things, and there's costs and the real and opportunity costs associated with that. So trying to be respectful of the process.
I do have one other just clarification point here, because these maps all show the garage on the left-hand side, which is where we were as of the last meeting. And when they were up here, they said that the two changes were, it was increased in size and it was moved 2 feet. It seems like the garage has changed as well.
It's changed from your side to the other side, I believe, correct?
It looks like it's the opposite, so I just,
Depends on what's most
well,
current.
which is the most,
current? That's the most current.
because I have one that I pulled up from the website today that was submitted for this meeting, and it has it on the opposite
No,
side.
this was the old plan, I think. I'll pull it up, hold on.
I think it's, is it A13,
A,
A11?
yeah. So here's A8. This was the old plan. A8 was the old plan that was approved by this board back in the summertime. It shows the 3-car garage on the right-hand side nearest your property. The new plan, the proposed plan, shows the garage on the other side. As we mentioned, the old plan showed the driveway here, actually the driveway coming in by your property line. The new plan shows the driveway coming in on the opposite side.
And the plan that had the house 15 feet away is no longer, correct?
The
I
house
just
is,
wanna
no,
be
yeah,
clear.
the plan approved by the zoning board last time was 25.7 feet, and today, the request, here's the plan A8, approved last time, 25.7. The proposed plan shows 25.7 as well.
Okay,
It's no closer.
but the house is larger.
It's larger. The footprint is larger, yes.
And does that impact, like, isn't there a maximum impervious?
This isn't close to that.
Yeah.
It's not 34.7%?
We're within, we're not asking for relief there. We're within the requirements of both building coverage and impervious coverage.
Okay.
Has the height of the house changed as well?
I don't know.
It could be up to 30 feet tall, I believe.
35, I think, or 30, yeah.
It's all conforming.
Yeah, the only relief requested on this plan was from the steep slope. There's no dimensional requests, impervious requests, building coverage requests, anything like that. It all involved that steep slope area that we showed previously.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we're prepared to come back when we get closer to approved plans. I would say, in general, our request, our proposed solution to them was just, you got all the space. The original idea was there was maybe even room for 3 houses. Take it, move it a little bit closer. That was, if you have to move both of them, move them both closer and create a little bit more distance between our house and theirs. Not only do we feel like that will help us immensely, but we feel like that's probably going to be a desirable quality for whoever comes in and buys that house. They're not going to want to be on top of us, just like we don't want to be on top of them. So that was the gist of it. Again, we're happy to come back at a future date when the planning is closer to approval decision time.
Okay, and keep on speaking with your neighbor.
We will
Thank
do that
you.
as well.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Make sure to attend the planning commission and the
Yes.
commissioners' meetings also.
And just out of curiosity, any idea, like, how long from now is that typically? Is there a rule of thumb that that's?
The planning commission meets the first Monday
First Monday of every month.
every month. And then, so I don't know if it'd be on, what are we, in February? March, I'm not certain if it'd be on the listing for March. And I doubt if it will be, to be honest. And then that'd be up to Steve Norsini, the township engineer. So I would check both the March listing and the April listing for first Mondays. Board of Commissioners meet the second and fourth Mondays. But check the agenda, because it may not be on the agenda. So just, yeah, so you don't have to show.
I've been in contact with the township
Yeah.
engineers also.
Right, Steve Norsini, and again, there'll be an agenda out the week before the hearing that you can check too.
Super, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comment on this application? Seeing none, I guess you should remove all of your, not remove, I mean, enter again all of your
Yes.
your exhibits.
I would request exhibits be part of the record, and also that the transcript and exhibits from the last zoning hearing be part of this record too, if necessary.
Without objection. And board discussion?
I guess I actually have a quick question. I have a quick question for Mr. Anderson, actually. You talked about landscaping that would separate the two properties. What does that entail exactly?
Is this the plan presented to Land Development for Planning Commission? John?
It's the same, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's another revision, but this is just a rendered plan showing the colors of the green area of the grass and trees. And so we're looking at an evergreen buffer along this.
No, I can rip it off.
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah, let's, I mean,
If we're going to refer to it, we should.
yeah, I have no problem with
I mean,
it.
I don't have a problem.
It would be
A15?
A15.
15.
And that's the title, what, landscaping plan?
It is
It's the site plan with the landscaping turned on and then rendered or colorized. And so what this plan is showing is the current landscaping plan with the larger circles as shade trees, and the smaller ones as evergreen buffer along here, and then a mix of shade trees and evergreens along here. And Mr. Slattery and I had a conversation this evening, and we're going to increase the amount of evergreen shrubs in this area to create more of a dense buffer.
So just so the board's aware, there's going to be more than what this plan shows. So we're not, because I don't want to have to say that, we're not, that we're differing the plan, changing the plan again.
Mr. Chairman?
Thank you.
Just on that, Nick, you still have to go to Shade Tree Commission as part of that. So part of the township process will require the applicant to go through the Shade Tree Commission, which will look at the plantings and make sure they're appropriate in terms of ordinance requirements, species, size, as well as any additional plantings. And Nick, just make sure that I get a digital copy of that as well as
Okay.
a file copy. Thank you.
John sent me a PDF.
That's right here. Okay, so, A15 site plan and landscaping is. Add it to the exhibits that were admitted as A15, site plan with landscaping. Any other testimony, Nick?
That's all we have.
And board discussion?
So I have a question for Mr. Anderson. So just given, this is just for my own clarity, so given we're, suggesting here building the steep slopes, and a lot of the concern is water runoff. And I noticed that with where the easterly home is positioned and where the driveway is, that's kind of going into that steep slope area. Are there any concerns with water runoff going to the westerly property, just given the location.
To the neighbors that were here?
No, Western.
So
Oh.
to the other home that's proposed.
So,
Sorry.
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So what we've designed within the plan set is stormwater management collection. So all the roof leaders and some of the, there's going to be yard inlets around both homes, and they discharge into an underground detention facility, infiltration facility, and then that will discharge, they both tie together at the northern corner of the property. Everything drains from plan right down to upper plan left corner, and then we have a level spreader that allows that those two infiltration galleries, one on each lot, to discharge at that corner, which would then overflow basically into Chew Lane. So what we're doing is we're not pushing any water onto any neighboring property. It's going to go in more of a naturally flowing direction, basically into Chew Lane.
Okay, understood. I appreciate that. Yeah, just ensuring it wasn't flowing into
No,
the westerly property.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any discussion? Can I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve modification of the condition of approval previously granted to include the testimony and drawings presented tonight.
Any seconds?
I'll second it.
Okay. Let's take any board discussion over the motion?
It seems like they already have been pretty amenable to the actual neighbors, moving the driveway, the landscaping, switching the sides of the actual.
Done.
I think the adding the landscaping, moving the driveway, and moving the location of the garage, it seems like Mr. Slattery has already done quite a bit to benefit his neighbor, so I don't see how this would be a negative for them.
Any other comment? Okay, I'll take a vote.
Yes.
Jack?
I'm in favor.
John?
Aye.
And I'm in favor. So the appeal's granted?
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is an item that was continued from the January 23rd, 2025 meeting, and it is appeal number 3200. The applicant, Villanova University, property located at 8 East Lancaster Avenue, open parens, library-main campus, close parens, and zoned PI planned institutional. Applicant proposes constructing a surface parking area on its west campus in the PI district between two residentially zoned parcels owned by the applicant. Applicant seeks a variance from section 280-69, capital E, number 3 in parens of the code, which requires a 125-foot side yard setback between a surface parking lot and a residentially zoned property. Applicant also seeks a variance from the buffer requirements of section 280-71 relating to the side properties, since both side properties are owned by the applicant. Applicant further requests such other relief as may be required in conformity with the exhibits and testimony presented. There's a small housekeeping item that we have to take care of, I think, which is there was a motion made during the last hearing. There then started another discussion. So the vote was never called, and it was decided to carry the appeal over to this meeting. So that motion is still hanging out there. I think that we as a board can agree to have that motion is withdrawn.
I move that we withdraw the previous motion.
Okay, and I second that motion. Does everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay. So that motion that was made and it's in the record, but we don't have to refer to it. Everybody knows where it is. It's withdrawn, so we can start fresh.
Thank you. Nick Keneally, representing the applicant. As a result of comments made by the board last time and comments made by the neighbors, Villanova went back to the drawing board, came up with a new plan, met with the neighbors. Chris Kowalski will discuss the meetings and the plans in further detail. What we've done, this is the A4 is the prior plan, and this row of parking here. That row of parking in that area has been removed, so the number of parking spaces has been reduced by 1/3 from 57 parking spaces to 38 parking spaces. Additionally, the setback, you will recall that Villanova owns the properties on both sides of the PI district. Both sides are zoned residential, both properties owned by Villanova. The setback has been increased from, it was 48 feet, now it is 68 feet. In addition, there was concern expressed by the neighbors regarding the driveway, and Villanova has proposed, and Chris again will discuss in a little more detail, an access point to the parking lot that would only be an access point to the parking lot that would only be accessed by cards by Villanova University, and also a gate for major events up by Wistar. You may recall that this parking was proposed as an attempt to reduce traffic on Wistar Road, which is a neighbor road, and keep parking of the vehicles within Villanova's campus. The access to this parking area would be through Villanova's South Campus, down by the access point now by the railroad tracks. That's how this would be accessed and how this parking lot would be accessed. You may recall we did request relief from the buffer requirement on both sides, on the side property lines, since they're owned by Villanova. But we do have an exhibit showing additional buffering, a little bit of change in buffering on the front area that is being buffered as well. So, Chris, we can call you as a witness. And,
I do. Christopher Kowalski, Kovolski. Thanks.
all right, Chris, first I'm going to show you what's been marked as A4, and is that the prior plan that I referenced that we presented at the last zoning hearing?
It is.
And now that plan, as a result of a last meeting, what did Villanova do and what contacts did Villanova make?
So we heard a series of concerns at our previous appearance before the zoning hearing board and from the neighbors, in addition to that, regarding the number of spots, the size of the parking lot. We also heard a concern about access to the parking lot and whether or not that this driveway could be used as a cut-through or a shortcut to or from that part of campus for folks who aren't supposed to be using or accessing campus. And we also heard some concerns about egress onto Wistar Road after large events. And so we went back and talked internally about ways we could address those concerns while still supporting the need that we have, and also the macro need, the concern that we all share about keeping traffic and cars off of Wistar Road related to events here at 1 Wistar. So as Nick said, we made a series of changes. We reduced the number of spots by 1/3 from 57 to 38, taking away a whole row. We also added a secured entrance at the driveway here internal to our campus. So this line right here shows a card access reader very similar to the other controlled access points on campus, which would ensure that only those who had the ability to go in and out would be able to use that. And then for larger events, we would make sure that that was open to allow our guests access to the lot. In addition, we've also committed to installing a gate at the driveway onto Wistar Road. So this gate would be closed during larger events to prevent egress onto Wistar Road. As you may recall from our last meeting, our intention is that when folks are invited to events at this residence, they will be directed to get to the residence through our West Campus. There'll be instructions that have them access off Spring Mill Road at the staffed gate that's there, and then they'll be directed through West Campus to this driveway to park in this lot. The establishment of this gate at Wistar will mean that even if they somehow find their way up to the top of the property, they won't be able to get out at the end of the event or in at the beginning from Wistar, and they'll be going back out through our West Campus. So it'll fully contain all traffic onto our West Campus and ensure that for those kinds of events that we're not putting traffic back onto Wistar Road. The neighbors, we shared these updates with the neighbors in a Zoom meeting last week. Zoom format was very similar to the format that we initially engaged them with about these plans. We shared these updates. I know many of them are here tonight. I'll let them speak for themselves, but I can confidently share that they were appreciative of the updates and supportive of them. And hopefully, again, they will speak to that on their own. But we think that by making these updates, that we've taken into consideration the concerns that were raised, helped address them to properly make sure that we're doing what we can to keep our traffic internal to campus and still accomplish what we need to support events in that building.
Chris, showing you what's been marked as A14. That's been handed up this evening as well, which is a 2-page document, and I believe the second page just talks about, the planting of the trees. But if you can describe what A14 represents, in particular page 1.
A14 is a landscaping plan for the revised parking lot. Again, you can see here the number of spots have been reduced. This is a different vendor that put together this plan. What's not shown here, but would still have every intention and commitment to installing, is that secure access point. Again, just different vendor doing the drawing. But you can see here how the lot will be landscaped, particularly to shield it from County Line Road.
Thank you. That's all I have for Chris.
I have one question regarding the gate, the proposed ornamental metal gate on Wistar Road, which would be engaged when there's going to be some sort of a function at one Wistar, is that right?
Larger functions. On a day-to-day basis, this is still our president's residence, and he would come and go during this driveway. It would be open. But certainly with larger events, we would close that, and we shared that with the neighbors as well, and they were supportive of that.
If a neighbor shows up and is not going to the function, but is going back to their home, how do they get through the gate?
The gate's on the driveway. It's on
that's on the
1 Wistar
driveway?
Road.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not on the street. Remember, 1 Wistar is right at the end of the street.
Yeah, so where the gate is shown is actually the driveway on the property. It's off of Wistar Road.
Okay, I didn't see that. I still don't see it.
It's at the bottom of the drawing, at the very, very bottom.
Of A13.
It's in a box.
Yeah, I see where the drawing is here, but whereas it in reference to the
It's
house.
not shown, so the driveway is off the top of the actual drawing. That's why we've called it out in the box.
Okay, but so it would not impede any of the neighbors who need to just drive down Wistar Road to get to their
Absolutely
home?
not, nope.
Okay, thank you. So Nick, exhibits A13 and 14 are new exhibits?
Yes, I would request that they be made part of the record, please.
Okay, without objection.
That's all I have. Yeah. I don't know if neighbors may be here and want to speak.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment? Okay, please come forward.
M-A-N-I-O-N. Thank you. Put that on for you. There you go.
Thank you. My name's David Mannion. I live on Wistar Road. I attended last month's meeting. Since the meeting, we had a neighborhood meeting for the other residents on Wistar Road and discussed our concerns, which are primarily traffic from university events and how that'll impact Wistar Road, light pollution, and parking of cars on Wistar Road. And since we had our meeting, we've provided feedback to Mr. Gavolsky. We met, as he described, on a Zoom meeting last week, and I'm very satisfied with the response to our input and with the proposal tonight, and I support the plan from the university and agree with everything Mr. Gavolsky said tonight. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Board?
Seeing none, any board comment?
Question for Nick. Part of the justification for granting these variances is because Villanova owns the adjacent properties. So by granting these variances, we're locking that relationship. So in the future, they couldn't sell off one Wistar, for example.
They could, but if they sold it to an outside person, someone not associated, well, I assume that's how they would sell it, none of this would be applicable. This is only for, the university use of one Wistar, in particular the president's home.
Thank you.
Any other board comment? We did receive a letter from Maggie Myers, who came and spoke last week, or at the last meeting, but was not available this meeting. I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to read that and look it over. If not, just let us know. Any further board discussion? Can I have a motion?
I'd like to move that we grant the variance to section 280-69E, parent 3 of the code for the setback between the surface parking lot and residential properties. And in addition, we grant a variance to section 280-71 relating to the buffers between the adjacent properties. And consistent with the drawings and discussions tonight.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
It seems like they addressed a lot of the community's concerns, and if the community doesn't have the issue, it seems like a worthwhile endeavor.
I'll add to that the message from Maggie Myers was to the effect that she had discussed also the project with the neighbors, and she believes that Villanova has done good work in trying to satisfy their needs and their concerns, and that she supports, stated that she supports the requests by Villanova, the variance requests by Villanova. So we have a second. Can I take a vote? Zach?
So I'll second.
Oh, it has been seconded. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
forgive me. So I am in favor.
Okay.
Yes.
John?
In favor.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, and I'm in favor, so it passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.